Stunfisk. That's going to be strong against either Pokemon. Swap tried to catch a foul play. Both trainers swapped, and both of them are unfazed.
Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. For those that don't know, I competed at the recent regional at Fresno, California, the last regional of the 2022 to 2023 Play Pokemon season, the second season of Pokemon Go for the Championship Series. I qualified for World Championships back in January at San Diego after my second place finish there, and at any regionals, if you finish in the top 2, you qualify for World Championships. I actually end up hitting that qualification mark yet again, so essentially I qualified for World Championships twice this year, which is definitely something that surpassed my expectations. If you haven't seen any of the footage, this video will showcase all of my battles. This actually includes all the battles at Fresno for me outside of my first round matchup, so you get a pretty full picture of how the battles went and how I played my team. This specific video will just cover the footage of the battles. In my next video, I'll do a deep dive into how my team worked and why I did what I did in the battles, as well as commentating on my own misplays. So definitely stay tuned for that if you're preparing for your own tournament and want to take some tips or just want to learn from some of my mistakes. Before we get into the battles, a big shout out and thank you to all my patrons who've been supporting my content creation. If you would also like to have early access to my strategies and lineups or see behind the scenes footage of my battles, feel free to sign up in the Patreon link down below.
So the next matchup here, and it's going to be DoctorRoastBeef versus, look at that, it's going to be Peng on the other side.
Who? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
And here we are on DoctorRoastBeef's side. This is one of your former picks to look out for because of the fire type coverage, but it is just going to be the Alolan Ninetales, the Umbreon. Galarian Weezing, Speediest Chief.
There it is.
It has the Fairy Wind, usually Brutal Swing and Overheat, but you could also run Play Rough in Overheat.
Oh yeah.
The Overheat coverage could be really impactful in this meta, especially if you're expecting a lot of Shadow Alolan Sandslash, Altaria, Medicham, and then Shadow Swampert.
Peng with the Shadow Venusaur, double steal of Registeel and Bastiodon, as well as the knocked out Purified Sableye and the Medicham. I think giving yourself 2 steel type options is a great maneuver, but like you said, Butters, if you bring the Registeel, you need to watch out for that overheat from the Galarian Weezing.
Yeah, and the fact that Galarian Weezing should be so strong against Medicham, right? Because you're double resisting the counters. You can...
Oh, I hate to say it, but let's see what happens here. We have our leads on the field. Looks like Galarian Weezing jumping right out of the gate, pairing up against Medicham.
And no Bastiodon, but how about the safe swap into the knockdown? Feeling like it's just so safe in this matchup because the only answer is going to be that Alolan Ninetales. So Caleb, that was a call by him, knowing that this is going to be an instant safe swap, and he just used it straight away with that bad Medicham matchup.
Yeah, that does do a lot of damage. In comes the Umbreon, a safe switch which was popularized back in the Toronto Regional Championships. We have not seen it that often, but I guess staying in here can absorb a foul play as well. Yeah,
and it maybe will win this matchup, but might soft win the matchup. And if you soft win the matchup, you might give a fast attack down for the Shadow Venusaur, the Pokemon that we both thought you should be looking to see how it will perform. And Caleb, one of the best trainers out there, is bringing that Shadow Venusaur, and I believe he's probably going to save both Protect Shields in the back for it.
Yeah, I agree. Here comes the second Sky Attack from Caleb Peng. I think that not switching out of this knockdown matchup is really, really clever, right? Because you're looking here, we see the Medicham just becoming available for Caleb. He does try to reach for it, but the foul play damage does add up. I think DoctorRoastBeef trying to pin down this knockdown and contain it in this matchup.
Yeah, and looks like you're in range of the next foul play. So which Pokemon will get the charge attack first? There's the swap back into the Medicham. So Caleb effectively used up his entire switch timer and then pivoted back into this Medicham matchup, is trying to get an energy lead for his Galarian. Oh, and it's running Play Rough Overheat. Caleb does not know that it's Play Rough Overheat. Does he commit a Protect Shield? No!
Play Rough connects. It's a same type attack bonus, fairy type damage, and then he KOs the Medicham with the Fairy Wind. It's all up to Venusaur and a heavily weakened knockdown to win this matchup. Galarian Weezing looking tough.
And Caleb looking unfazed. I mean, that was a super effective Play Rough that pretty much just obliterated his Medicham, but he knows if he can have a backline matchup that's positive for Shadow Venusaur, he will be in good shape, and he just got a Protect Shield advantage, which is huge, and you have to commit the full Play Rough here.
You do, absolutely, but I think it's going to be worth it. Going on the charge attack priority tie, great knowledge there by DoctorRoastBeef to fire off the Play Rough and look for the KO here on the knockdown. Does Caleb put it all on the Venusaur? He does.
He's trying to go for the win here against this backline, but remember, there is a little bit of health left for the Umbreon, and this is the overheat. Yep, there goes the Protect Shield from Caleb. He's not trying to take a super effective overheat on his Shadow Venusaur. He's gonna get the full Vine Whip down and then met by the Umbreon. Can he Protect Shield and full Vine Whip down here, Speedy?
It's gonna be really tough. Here comes the Umbreon with the foul play. Caleb Peng saving his final Protect Shield. It's gonna be really, really bad news for DoctorRoastBeef when that Swampert does come out. Going for a second foul play. Can Umbreon hang on and get it? I don't think it's gonna get there. Butters, I think it's Vine Whip down, but he throws the Frenzy Plant.
Yeah, I think he could have got the Vine Whip down there, but just playing the safer option. The thing is, he has to have a positive matchup here. The Mudshot damage will do something, but not nearly as enough is this Vine Whip damage. And the Swampert is waiting there. DoctorRoastBeef doesn't quite want to unleash it yet, but this is going to be doing so much damage to Swampert.
Yeah, waiting on that switch timer, right? The only potential win condition here is to catch a Frenzy Plant on the Galarian Weezing, and even then, it will be tough. We do see the final Protect Shield here. DoctorRoastBeef fighting things out. Galarian Weezing not available yet. Needs to throw a Charge Attack here. Can he pull off maybe a 1% chance victory here?
Well, the problem is, can you get to either a Frenzy Plant or can you Vine Whip down before 4 Mudshots? And you're already at the Frenzy Plant here. There was no swap. DoctorRoastBeef didn't go for it, so that will secure the victory for Caleb Peng in game number 1 as the Swampert gets knocked out. Just a couple more Vine Whips to take out this Galarian Weezing. It actually took 2 to 3, so Galarian Weezing with that stat product. Caleb Peng takes game number 1. Once again, this is going to be kind of a neutral to positive lead because you're doing super effective. How about the Fairy types here in Fresno? Swap into the knockdown once again, determining this is going to be your safe swap, but this time the adjustment from DoctorRoastBeef.
Yeah, great adjustment here. Sticks with that Galarian Weezing lead, but pivots here to the Alolan Ninetales, a Pokemon that you wouldn't really bring against a double Steel and Shadow Venusaur team, but here it is.
Yeah, and the Alolan Ninetales is actually slightly stronger against the Noctowl when it's not Shadow.
Yeah.
Even though you have to commit double Weather Ball, you just come out with so much more health than the Shadow does. If the Shadow took that Shadow Ball, it'd be almost knocked out at this point. So now Caleb has the decision to try to go for the Protect Shield, but I mean, you can't really go for it here, so he lets this go. But how is he going to fast attack down?
Oh, you know how.
Look at there. Oh no, but he just lost alignment. Caleb just lost alignment with a Bastiodon team.
Uh-oh. It's going to be tough here. Coming in with the Sableye, trying to Shadow Claw all the way down, reaching for the Dazzling Gleam. The non-Shadow Alolan Ninetales might be able to get there, but he pulls the trigger on the Weather Ball instead.
Instant no Protect Shield from Caleb, knowing it's just the Weather Ball here. But the problem is, this is probably going to be Pivot Bastiodon, Pivot Medicham, and the Medicham is going to get so much energy. The Ice Punches are going to be adding up. There is no pivot. Looks like he's going to try to land a return here into the Galarian Weezing, into 2 Protect Shields. The foul play is resisted. Will DoctorRoastBeef call it? What a call by DoctorRoastBeef.
Incredible call there, but as we've seen with this Galarian Weezing, it needs time to build up his charge attacks. Going for the overheat. This is doubly good because you're going to throw this overheat.
Wow.
You get debuffed, but then what happens, Butters? You come in with the Medicham.
Yeah, Caleb's shaking his head a little bit here because this is the risk of Bastiodon right here. This is a heavy Medicham meta. Medicham was over 70% in usage, and this is a power-up punch Medicham, and now this is going to be able to counter all the way down. This is the exact risk-reward situation that Bastiodon hates.
You called it out, right? When you pick certain Pokemon on your team, you have to play a certain way. When you play with Bastiodon here and Medicham is so prominent, you have to control switch advantage. Not being able to do that basically loads up this Medicham like a slingshot. It's going to release all this energy. Sableye typically would have a good matchup, Butters, but it cannot overcome these Ice Punches.
Yeah, this Ice Punch, I think Sableye will be able to endure, but at this point, this Medicham is just loaded. Oh, no, wait. It was boosted by the attack stat, so
yes.
DoctorRoastBeef does tie it up 1-1 here, and just like game number 1, Caleb made the backline call. DoctorRoastBeef called out the Bastiodon, sniffed it out, saw that Bastiodon across the table with the plushie. I think Caleb's going to bring the Bastiodon, brought the power-up punch Medicham. Here in Fresno, this is going to be the Noctowl, which I believe Caleb thought was his safest Pokemon in this matchup, so actually brought it in the lead here. He is shaking his head. He likes this, and look at the backline, Speedy. This is going to be Noctowl double steal, but the backline for DoctorRoastBeef is Galarian Weezing in Altaria.
Oh, this does look like a tough shake if things play out the way they look like they will on paper. Landing the first Hydro Cannon, maybe looking for a switch here, but decides to stay in. I would not be shocked by Protect Shield here. Shadow Swampert needs protection.
Yeah, Shadow Swampert needs to be around to face the backline of Caleb. So Caleb really wants to get this Swampert out of the way. You have to Protect Shield. There's no other option because you're not going to be able to finish this off with Registeel. There's no way you're going to finish it off with Bastiodon. So this knockdown is literally Caleb's only choice against these Pokemon. There's the swap into Galarian Weezing, and this gives Caleb the opportunity to throw a Sky Attack, but you can also build here, right? You can build your energy back up and then pivot.
Well, you have to come in with the Bastiodon here eventually, right? Because the Bastiodon will not take as much damage from the overheat. Like you said, Butters does build up some energy. Switch to the Bastiodon. This is a hard-hitting overheat against a Steel and Rock-type Pokemon.
But the key factor is this overheat will drop the attack stat of the Galarian Weezing, and it harshly drops it. So 2 stages. So now the Bastiodon is going to be able to smack down and take this overheat, no problem. And now suddenly you're gonna come out with energy, and Shadow Swampert can take energy against Bastiodon, no problem, but 2 charge attacks would be a little too much for it at its current health.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to see the Swampert coming here eventually. It will actually immediately come in, does get the Mud Shot. Here comes a Stone Edge from the Bastiodon. In the situation, you do want to go for the same type attack bonus, even though both attacks are resisted. Not very effective damage. Swampert looking for the Hydro Cannon, but can overfarm here a little bit.
Yeah, definitely can have patience here. Interesting, Caleb went straight for the Stone Edge instead of going for the Smackdown. Maybe trying to sneak that in before a Mud Shot would have been available for the Swampert in a lucky situation. And then here comes the Hydro Cannon that knocks out the Bastiodon. You could come Registeel here to lock on down, but that's entirely too risky. So I feel like you're probably going to go for the Wing Attack down. Do you give up this Protect Shield? There is the last Protect Shield of the game from Caleb.
Is this a window, though? Is this an opportunity for DoctorRoastBeef to come back in this matchup? He reaches for the Altaria. Oh, immediate switch into the Registeel. I don't know. He still has a Protect Shield and the Swampert to switch in. This could get interesting.
Yeah, I mean, both these trainers kind of chuckle. Like, DoctorRoastBeef was like, come on, double steal in the back. And Caleb's like, you know, that's my tactics. That's what I do. And here comes the Zap Cannon into the Protect Shield of the Altaria. The attack did drop here. So now this Registeel is a lot safer. And remember, the Knockdown does have about a Sky Attack and a half of energy. So even though the Altaria is up a Protect Shield, it's once you get hit with the Zap Cannon, you're getting close to Shadow Ball range.
Yeah, exactly. No Moonblast attack debuff there either. Here comes the second Zap Cannon from Caleb Peng's Registeel. As these 2 Pokemon just kind of whittle away at each other. This Zap Cannon, however, will have a big impact as Altaria loses a lot of HP and gets double dropped.
Yeah, and the thing is, Altaria doesn't get the charge attacks fast enough to force the Switch Timer, but finally, Altaria is at the Switch Timer. So can Altaria try to swap onto the Zap Cannon, or can you try to swap into the Swampert? Here comes the swap into the Knockdown, and it is swapped on. But Caleb is kind of unaffected here because he knows he can probably outpace with this next Sky Attack, and then he can get to the Zap Cannon as well as he knocks out the Swampert.
Yeah, Caleb's got a full armament of charge attacks here. Altaria comes in, can't quite muster the Sky Attack, and finally gets pinned down by the knockdown here by Caleb Peng. This is a decisive Game 3 victory.
And Caleb Peng is moving on to the winners finals in Group D with his Bastiodon once again. This is actually the same exact team that he brought to San Diego, but instead of Trevenant, he's bringing the Shadow Venusaur. In that game number 1, had Shadow Venusaur in the back. And then game number 3, the double steal, the backline calls from Caleb, able to take that 2-1.
It's a great victory there. DoctorRoastBeef bringing the Galarian Weezing. I called it out weeks ago, Butters. I thought that Pokemon did have some interesting play, and it did have some big moments, right? Oh, speaking of Caleb, he is our San Diego runner-up. Let's take a look at the team that he used to qualify for the World Championships. Double steal here, but lacking the Trevenant here in Fresno. He did bring it, though, back in San Diego against Ramberto in the Grand Finals.
Yeah, but bringing the same team he had success with. You know, if it's not broken, don't fix it. The Bastiodon is the mainstay. Pairing it with that Registeel. A key factor here is I believe he ran Dynamic Punch Medicham in San Diego as well. I believe he's still running that Dynamic Punch Medicham. So because he's now running Shadow Venusaur instead of Trevenant, he is a little weaker to opposing Medichams with Ice Punch and Psychic. So that is something to look out for in the winners finals and maybe day number 2 as well.
Well, let's go ahead and head to the stage. We have something kind of exciting here. Sophtoph and Caleb Peng happen to be lucky friends, and they are doing a lucky Groudon trade.
Yeah, I am a little bit disappointed. I know both of these folks, they are both my friends. I'm a little bit disappointed that they're not swapping shinies, but hey, maybe they haven't gotten lucky on those raids to get those shinies. We'll have to see how well these Groudons turn up, as they have a higher chance to be good, and it looks like not bad, definitely usable. Maybe not exactly what they were looking for, but still great to see that happen. And people coming from across the world, though I think both of them are local to California, as you know, we are here in Fresno, California.
Today in the Group D finals is where we are at. We have Sophtoph on the left, running that Lantern, Sableye, Lickitung, Noctowl, Medicham, and Galarian Stunfisk. A very common, a very meta set of 6 Pokemon. But on the right, we have Caleb Peng, already qualified for the World Championship.
Yeah, and he's rocking that Shadow Venusaur, Registeel, Bastiodon, his signature pick, Noctowl, Medicham, and Sableye. And I have to say that Shadow Venusaur looks so scary. Amazing matchup against the Lantern. The Sableye is very energy dependent. Lickitung also a bit energy dependent, but Lickitung outbulks that Shadow Venusaur. Noctowl, a positive, the only really positive matchup for Sophtoph against that Shadow Venusaur. So I expect to see that Shadow Venusaur basically every single game. And here it is in the worst possible position for Sophtoph. It is Shadow Venusaur into Lantern.
And that is such a terrible matchup. So we see Soph go right into the Galarian Stunfisk. And this is honestly not a bad matchup for the Venusaur either. It can power through this matchup with a lot of Frenzy plants. I believe 2 of them at this point, in addition to the Vine Whip damage, is enough to knock out.
Yeah, but that little bit of chip that she was able to get from that first Rock Slide will be beneficial later on, given that she is so soft to this Venusaur. I think that's exactly why she decided to switch into the Galarian Stunfisk, knowing that the Rock Slides do outpace the second Frenzy Plant's coming and forces a shield, since that was a charge attack tie on Soph's end.
All right, so the Frenzy Plant is shielded by Caleb, and then we see another Rock Slide come through. Caleb takes a look up, is thinking about it, and decides to shield the Rock Slide. And again, Caleb is free to switch out whenever, but it looks like he is content to stay in this matchup and shield again, fighting for that switch advantage.
Yeah, so Soph was able to get both of the shields out of the way. Shield advantage, the Venusaur's on its last legs, and it looks like Caleb's looking to switch immediately into that Registeel. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't want to get farmed down by the Venusaur, actually leaves very smartly, does an additional Vine Whip, and now leaves with the Sludge Bomb. Soph immediately pivots into her own Lantern. The Lantern has got a shield advantage, but Zap Cannons are so impactful, whereas Surfs don't quite do a lot of damage to Registeel.
No, and again, since this is a Spark Lantern, that fast move pressure isn't really there. So it takes, you need to be able to get through those charge moves even quicker. Oh my goodness, and an attack fall.
Yeah, that attack drop means that this next Thunderbolt's not going to do quite as much damage, and there are no shields remaining on Caleb's side, so it will land. I think the question now becomes, what can Soph's Noctowl do up a bunch of energy? It will need to be able to take out this Registeel. We see another no shield from Soph. I think this makes a lot of sense given that her attack has been dropped. The Focus Blast will be enough to knock out, and the Noctowl has to take out 3 full Pokemon on Caleb's team.
Yep, and we see, will it reach the Shadow Ball in time? And it does. Is able to knock out the Registeel, has a shield in order to shield the Sludge Bomb that is probably going to be coming in from that Venusaur. But first, there is the opposing Noctowl. This is tough. Sophtoph has a slight, very, very slight energy advantage and a very slight health, but Caleb has a very slight health advantage on his own Noctowl.
Yeah, and the question all becomes, as you had said, there's one shield on Soph's side, and there is a Sludge Bomb on Caleb's side. So does Soph properly handle the matchup against this own Noctowl and come out with a Sky Attack for that Venusaur. It looks like Soph is being forced to shield here. This is enough damage to potentially knock out the Noctowl. The question is, can Caleb get his Venusaur in and land a Sludge Bomb? It looks like Caleb's actually holding on to his Venusaur in the back, recognizing that Venusaur wins charge attack priority against the Noctowl and will go ahead and guarantee his victory in this first game.
Yep, so there we go. Caleb also didn't even need to use that Sludge Bomb, is able to hang on with that very dapper Noctowl, knock out Soph's Noctowl, and that first game of the Group D Finals goes to Caleb Peng.
Yeah, there was a little bit of trickery in that initial matchup. I think Soph expected to be able to land 2 Rock Slides before the second Frenzy Plant was able to land from Caleb, given that the Rock Slide does pace at 5 Mudshots each time, and although she had switched in to that Galarian Stunfisk, which costs her 1 fast attack, she should still be able to outpace to the second one.
All right, and it looks like there will be a rematch. So ignore the results from that first game. We are starting with a clean slate here today. We are 0-0 Sophtoph versus Caleb Peng. The Pokemon are locked, and we have a dominant lead matchup for Soph. It is a Lantern onto Caleb's Noctowl.
And it's a bit interesting because I think this is the same team composition that Soph ran in the last game, except here, Caleb losing lead because the Lantern was led and he switched into the Noctowl. He's now on the bit of a back foot. However, we have brought out the hardest answer to the Venusaur, which is a bit interesting to see Sophtoph bring in. I think it might have been a little bit stronger to chip with the Lantern and then switch to the Galarian Stunfisk, though that really puts Caleb on the front foot because then you're in a positive matchup, and it looks like he's actually running Dynamic Punch as his secondary charge attack.
Yep, I believe that's what Caleb Peng ran in his qualifying run as well when he played against Ramberto. And I believe that Dynamic Punch Metacham is something that Caleb Peng is very familiar with. We see Sophtoph fast moving down the Metacham, and Caleb Peng brings in his own Noctowl to meet Soph's.
Yeah, and I would love to see Soph at this point pivot out of this Noctowl, try to save it as much as she can for the obvious Venusaur in the back, but instead she's going for a secondary Sky Attack. I expect to see Caleb no-shielding this, and now Caleb just needs to really bring in the Venusaur. The Venusaur's so set to sweep, and there's actually going to be a Sky Attack loaded for Caleb, almost 2.
Yeah, and we see Caleb reaching for that Venusaur immediately. That Venusaur looks so good against Soph's backline, especially because Caleb has a shield advantage here. So Soph is going to chip a little bit with this Surf. I think recognizing being very weak to the Shadow Venusaur, needs to get as much damage done as possible before bringing in the Galarian Stunfisk. Now, we saw before these Frenzy Plants do quite a bit to this Steel Trap Pokemon. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Actually, the first Rock Slide coming out before the first Frenzy Plant. Caleb, of course, having a shield advantage, is still in a pretty comfortable position here. Shielding up the first Rock Slide, has back-to-back Frenzy Plants. The first Frenzy Plant is going to go no-shielded by Soph. I like this. I expect Caleb to not throw the second immediately, but instead build up to another 2, actually throwing immediately. And Soph is feeling pressure to shield here.
Yes, so because that Frenzy Plant would most certainly knock out, there goes that this Galarian Stunfisk. It almost seems like it's already in Vine Whip range from fast moves, just a few Vine Whips away. Caleb Peng finally using a shield here against the Rock Slide. Now we are down to no shields, gets the Vine Whip, but brings in the Noctowl to knock out.
Yeah, this Noctowl is so loaded. 1 Sky Attack going resisted into the Galarian Stunfisk. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a Shadow Ball into the Venusaur, or excuse me, into the Lantern. And the Lantern's just got so much to do, and if I recall correctly, Caleb has plenty of energy on that Venusaur in the back.
Yep, he has a full Frenzy Plant loaded. So even though Soph has a lot of energy on this Lantern, all Caleb needs to do is press on the Frenzy Plant, and that will knock out the Lantern. As Venusaur has a naturally higher attack, it will always out-charge move priority the Lantern.
Yeah, and even if that was just a neutral Frenzy Plant, that would have been plenty of damage to knock out. Instead, it's super effective, so I think it probably could have KO'd that Lantern from near full health.
Caleb Peng 1 win away from securing a Day 2 performance. And we have Lantern against Registeel. And Caleb Peng not bringing the Shadow Venusaur. What is this Alpha Thief?
This is very unique. Again, Soph really not feeling pressured by the Venusaur lead, brings Lantern 3 games in a row in the lead. Registeel is going to be a very neutral matchup, so I like this pick by Caleb because in the Zero Shield matchup against Lantern, it really thrives. The Zap Cannon's doing so much neutral damage, and with the potential of the attack drop, we'll see if it comes in, and it does. We've seen so many impactful attack drops today.
Yes, so let's go ahead and see this Lantern. Again, not running Water Gun, which is my personal preferred fast move because you can get so much done with that fast move pressure. Going for an attack on the Registeel. Registeel still not needing to shield. However, Soph does, if she wants to win this switch advantage, decides to let the Lantern go. Perhaps anticipating that Venusaur is in the back. Lantern not going to be so useful. However, there's no Venusaur back there.
Yeah, this isn't bad though because she's able to get an energy advantage on her Pokemon that she comes in with. However, it looks like the Registeel's able to get the Zap Cannon off, and it's going to force a shield from Soph's side.
All right, forces that shield. Will there be an attack drop? There is an attack drop. Is Soph going for a full fast move down? She's loaded on energy, switching to the Galarian Stun Fist to get a little bit of energy advantage, but there is the Medicham in the back. So Soph's Noctowl has a long road ahead of it, as this is a very positive matchup for Medicham, especially up shields. But Caleb Peng choosing not to shield this first Earthquake.
And it really shows Sophtoph what Caleb has in the back, because the Venusaur would have come in against this Galarian Stunfisk as opposed to the Medicham, because the Venusaur does not want to match up against that Noctowl in any way, and the Medicham at least has some counterplay. The Dynamic Punch lands at so much super effective damage against that Galarian Stunfisk. Now these two trainers are on their final Pokemon. They both, there is one shield on the side of Sophtoph and two shields on the side of Caleb, but there is a bunch of extra energy on Sophtoph's side.
Yeah, Soph, however, you can see just at a little bit of a health disadvantage on her Noctowl. So I don't have Future Sight. That is a Cresselia charge move. But I think that little bit of damage is going to be really impactful for Caleb.
Yeah, it really comes down to who paces to these Sky attacks quicker. We've seen the shield being used from Sophtoph's side. Caleb still has one. He throws it up, knows that the Sky attack is going to be the charge attack that he needs to shield, and might as well use it earlier rather than too late. In comes the next Sky attack. It looks like Soph is going to win the charge attack tie here. I believe both of these trainers did click on it at the same time. The first one comes through. It looks like it puts the Noctowl down just above 50% of what damage was just dealt. The question is, will these extra wing attacks do enough damage to knock out, and will Sophtoph pace quicker? It actually looks like Caleb's one fast attack quicker, because I think he was on the 5 cycle. I believe Sky Attack is 665, so one wing attack difference there was all that it took to have Caleb win that game there in the end.
Yes, so congratulations to Caleb Peng securing another top cut performance. He will join, he is the first, I believe, to punch that ticket here today in Fresno to tomorrow's battles for day 2
of that. But it seems like the two trainers have decided to continue to move forward, and we will be moving over.
Only 8 trainers have made it to Championship Sunday here in Fresno. Let's take a look at our bracket and break down what we have. Stephanie, can you walk us through this winner's side bracket? Which pair are you excited to see?
Oh, you always ask me these kinds of questions, and I can't ever pick, but we have the winner's semis. We have Gerald versus Munchlax 2000, and Boomer, who I think, Butters, you mentioned, is certainly a crowd favorite. We heard the crowd roar quite a bit, versus our fellow co-caster and runner-up in San Diego, Caleb Peng.
I'm really excited to see how that Dugong matches up against Caleb Peng's double steel lineup. To Butters, we have an exciting, very stacked losers bracket. Tell me about these trainers.
Can this be the day? In day number 2, the first ever competitor from the loser's side of the bracket. Can they win the grand finals? Which one of these trainers has a chance? I really liked that Nighttime Clasher was riding left-handed and tapping right-handed, so he was writing notes like while he was playing the game. I've never seen that before, so I really like Nighttime Clasher for that. Also, the Togedemaru.
Yes, that was such a fun pick. I'm so bummed out we didn't see it on stream. I'm hoping we're going to see it in day 2.
And Boomer, who has been the crowd favorite here in Fresno, this is his first top 8 achievement, but he's coming in on the winner's side of his first top 8. Extremely impressive. And how about the team? The team is Metacham, Dugong, which I feel like probably has the second highest skill ceiling of any of these new Pokemon in the Open Great League meta. Galarian Stunfisk, which is interesting in a more Registeel meta. Yes. Sableye, Noctowl, and that Shadow Swampert that's been so strong.
Yeah, I think Boomerbrhel's all smiles for good reason. His Dugong play has been absolutely impeccable all weekend long, really kind of providing a blueprint for trainers that are not familiar with that Pokemon. Over here we have Caleb Peng, the San Diego regional finalist, actually the runner-up, and then he also made day 2 top 8 here in Fresno. Now Caleb's running almost exactly the same team that he qualified for the World Championships with, but in lieu of the Trevenant, he brought that Shadow Venusaur.
Yeah, absolutely. And then having that double steal, the Registeel Bastiodon, and Bastiodon is his signature pick. He has the plushie on the stage, has the Umbreon pin though, but you know he has his pin game is strong because he's usually behind the desk casting. So it's interesting to see him bring Bastiodon in this meta. I'm not sure it's exactly favored against the meta, but in this matchup, at least it has another target. It has the Dugong and Noctowl as 2 fantastic targets. So at least if you're weak to Dugong, your Bastiodon does protect you from that, but Dugong does have Drill Run available now.
You're exactly right. And I think that having 2 steel types on your team actually gives you different modes of play, different modes of attack. Like we talked about Hot Pocket at a previous regional championship. When you build in certain archetypes into your team, it allows you to change up your approach, your method. And I think some of the best Bastiodon players really excel in neutral play. Will we see that here? It's kind of hard to tell because there are a lot of answers.
Real quick, key takeaway, you're forced into Sableye if you're Caleb because Metacham is so strong from Boomer's team. I think there it is in the lead. Caleb has to bring Sableye into every single game to respect the Metacham. How about this play by Boomer? He didn't bring the Metacham. He brought the Shadow Swampert in the back, and there's no Shadow Venusaur from Caleb.
All right, this is important information. The first Sableye to win that charge attack priority is Boomerbrhel's, which means that time and time again, as long as these Sableyes line up their foul plays, he will always get to go first. So if we do go into the 2-shield situation, Caleb Peng will lose switch advantage eventually.
I feel like Caleb wants to try to go for alignment here because he thinks that Registeel Noctowl having alignment will be so strong, but look at the backline for Boomer. Has the Galarian Stunfisk. That's going to be strong against either Pokemon. Swap tried to catch a foul play. Both trainers swapped, and both of them are unfazed.
Yeah, unfazed, right? No expressions there. Totally focused. We're going to see the Registeel go for the Focus Blast just a moment before this Galarian Stunfisk is ready. Like we saw in day 1, a lot of these trainers don't shield their Steel-type Pokemon the first time because it needs 2 charge attacks to knock out.
I actually think this is better for Caleb. You might think, oh, you're losing this matchup. This is tough, but it's a soft loss. Because if Caleb's Registeel can survive enough mud shots to force the Rock Slide out of Boomer, which looks like it's obviously going to be able to force the Rock Slide out of Boomer, this isn't even going to be enough.
No.
Caleb could maybe hold on to get to the Focus Blast.
Think about San Diego, right, against Ramberto. It wasn't enough, and Ramberto was forced to take a second Focus Blast. That's exactly what's going to happen here to Boomer.
Wow!
Goes for the Zap Cannon instead.
Yeah, and a little delay there. The Zap Cannon is no protection. Is this enough? This is double resistant.
It has to be.
This has to be enough, though. It's such a hard-hitting move. It is enough. And now suddenly you thought that was a good spot for Boomer, but then I actually think that's better for Boomer.
Yeah.
Boomer wanted to soft lose that so he could then get an energy advantage. Now he can throw the return. This return will put the Noctowl within range of Hydro Cannon. Boomer just might need 3 Hydro Cannons to secure this battle.
Well, with Shadow Sableye, you need 2 foul plays. With the Purified Sableye, you need a return plus a foul play to knock out. And we see a charge attack priority tie. Don't forget, Caleb Peng's Sableye does have a foul play banked as well.
I think this foul play is kind of irrelevant because you're going to double resist Shadow Claws. You're going to double resist Mud Shots. This Noctowl is not going to be able to get fast attack down by the Swampert. I feel like that damage is pretty irrelevant, and it looks like Caleb is going to swap instantly, and now Caleb suddenly is going to be ahead on energy against this Swampert.
Yeah, a little bit of a kind of turn difference there as the switch-in did displace those intervals. We're going to see a Hydro Cannon get fired off here. Does get Protect Shielded. Only 4 mud shots to the next one, so Caleb Peng needs to strike fast.
This is kind of the bait. He didn't call the bait. This is a Protect Shield on the foul play. Can Caleb ever get to the return. I don't think there's enough time. He doesn't go for it. It would have been really close, but you hang on here.
Yeah, you don't need to. You hang on as Swampert, but the Shadow Claw pressure is enough to force the Hydro Cannon. Then Knockdown just comes in. You're double resisting all the mud shots.
Yeah.
You just wing attack down, right?
Yeah, you definitely can wing attack down. This Swampert will need to get to 4 mud shots and survive 4 wing attacks. I don't think it could do it. And here comes the mud shots. Here comes the wing attacks. It just takes 3 wing attacks for Caleb Peng to secure game number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the Shadow Swampert difference, right? If you land those charge attacks, you can deal so much damage, you can make so much impact, but you're just a little bit flimsy, right? You need those protect shields, you need HP to work your way through matchups, and when you're in that kind of situation, the fast attack pressure it piles on so quickly.
And here is a terrible lead for Boomer to start this game number 2 because it's Registeel lead into the Dugong. There is going to be no pivot. Dugong is different now. You have the Drill Run. You can flip some matchups now because of Drill Run, but you have to definitely protect shield those Zap Cannon or Focus Blast.
I'm telling you, as a Go Battle League trainer, I never respected the Dugong's charge attacks as a Registeel, but now you have to because the second Drill Run will deal a lot of damage. Going for the Zap Cannon here, recognizing he can't outpace, so not forcing the issue here, getting a couple of additional lock-ons. We do see the first protect shield from Boomerbrhel. Will this trigger the attack drop, though?
And it didn't. So now the pivot comes in to the Sableye, but the key factor is there was no attack drop. That also happened to Caleb in San Diego against Ramberto, using the Registeel against Umbreon and not getting any attack debuffs, but this guarantees an attack drop from Boomer's Dugong because it's 100% chance.
I would say there's an additional issue as well because Caleb just gave up alignment. He has Medicham this game. There's a purified Sableye in the back for Boomerbrhel. If he can control switch advantage from here on out, he can just line the pieces up.
And this is the strength of the Dugong. I think it hangs on. It hangs on to this. It's crazy. It's so bulky. You've already dropped the attack stat. I think Boomer knows it, and it does. It just hangs on comfortably. Here comes the pivot into his own Sableye, trying to get the Shadow Claw down, but it's not going to happen. Caleb Peng is going to reach that foul play and an instant no protect shield. That is why Dugong has such a high skill ceiling, because you can change the entire dimensions of the battlefield.
No, you're exactly right. And I think this also changes things because the Sableye is now out on the field, less than half HP. It allows Caleb to bring in the Registeel. Registeel doesn't have much energy, but all this chip matters, right? Wearing down your opponent, and the early shield advantage that Caleb Peng was acquiring in the opening moments of the game might actually be a huge benefit here,
and
too.
This is the only true counter to the Medicham on Boomer's side, besides maybe the opposing Medicham. So Caleb knows that his Medicham's probably going to have a lot of play in the backline. He's going to hang on to this foul play, kind of try to reach for that last Zap Cannon, either get the last Protect Shield here, and does Boomer invest in this last Protect Shield? There it is!
That's so critical here, keeping his Sableye on the field. Does get attack drop. In comes a Medicham counter swap. Caleb needs to eliminate this Sableye as quickly as possible, but Boomerbrhel needs to hang on.
Can he get the double foul play? That would be terrible for Caleb. Caleb wants to try to get a counter down with the Medicham here. He might have to commit to Ice Punch energy. No, here comes the swap in, the banked Icy Wind. The plays from Boomer and his Dugong.
He's trying to slow this Medicham down, right? Because it does have Dynamic Punch. His final Pokemon is the Galarian Stunfisk in the back. If it hits the Dynamic Punch there, it's going to deal so much damage.
Yes, it's going to soften the blow of that Dynamic Punch. And now, can you ever get this in range of Rock Slide? Can your Mud Shots do enough? Just going straight Rock Slide here. And Caleb not messing around, going straight for this Dynamic Punch. Do you need 2 Dynamic Punches? Can you ever Dynamic Punch and Ice Punch? Oh, you're going to need both.
You need both punches here. Here comes the Rock Slide from the Galarian Stunfisk. Going to force away this final shield. I anticipate Caleb will do 5 counters and then throw his second Dynamic Punch. The question will then become, can that Sableye outpace Medicham in the end?
And look at this. He's trying to get a little extra energy. This is really smart. And
catch!
He swapped on the Rock Slide, but no charge. No charge on Boomer. Boomer's going to undercharge this and try to go for the full Mud Shot down, and it hangs on. Can he get 5 more Mud Shots? 1, 2. I think he's only going to get 4 Mud Shots. Here comes the swap into the Sableye, and now the swap is going to take the Ice Punch here. Boomer is not quite at the Rock Slide on the Galarian Stunfisk.
He denies any additional Shadow Claw damage as well by throwing the Ice Punch immediately. Medicham needs to land a couple of counters here. Galarian Stunfisk is going to try to hang on, and he throws the Ice Punch instead, and Caleb Peng is going to take a 2-0 over Boomerbrhel.
And a full sweep from the Dynamic Punch Medicham. Caleb Peng is moving on into the winners semis with a clean 2-0 victory against Boomer, relying on those top meta picks of the Sableye, the Medicham, the Knocked Out, and the Registeel. That's the only 4 picks that you saw. Yes, Caleb did bring those spicier picks like the Shadow Venusaur and the Bastiodon, but at the end, he knew those top picks would be the safest, and if he can move around, play the end game brilliantly, he would be so strong, and he outperformed Boomer in those end games to move on. Bracket update to show you the winners finals is XJerald versus Caleb Peng. Caleb 2-0'd Boomer, and then XJerald 2-1 versus Munchlax. There they are, XJerald with Teddy Ursa versus a Bastiodon. I think that is maybe a favorable matchup for the Bastiodon, but he doesn't have that on his team. XJerald has the Sableye, the Registeel, the Medicham, but then this is where it gets kind of interesting. The Altaria, instead of the common Noctowl, the Lickitung, which has been a lot more common, but this is the signature Pokemon for XJerald, the Dunsparce.
I have a cool fact about Dunsparce for you. 4 trainers have qualified for the World Championships using Dunsparce. Those trainers being Inadequates in Stuttgart, Bosox Sky in Orlando, Agent Magikarp at OCIC, and Statisan at Utrecht. If we see him qualify for the World Championships, he will become the 5th.
Yeah, well, he is the 5th now, I think, because I think he technically has qualified, and so has this man right here, Caleb Peng, running the Shadow Venusaur, the Registeel, the Bastiodon, Noctowl, Purified Sableye, and Medicham. And like you mentioned before, the same exact team that Caleb used to make it to the finals of San Diego, but he subbed out Trevenant because of the Hidden Gems update this season. Trevenant became worse because of the additional energy of Seed Bomb. You don't have that reliant bait move, and so now he substituted that with the Shadow Venusaur. But a key factor, how's this Dunsparce looking? How's this signature Pokemon looking? I think it's looking pretty strong.
Very good.
Against everything but Medicham, but Medicham has that key advantage. It's Dynamic Punch Medicham, and this is Reggie on Registeel action here.
Steel yourselves, trainers. We have a Registeel mirror on the field. I expect we see a Focus Blast almost immediately, but trainers might build up to a Zap Cannon as well. Actually going right for the Focus Blast here. This will be super effective, so we do see the protection.
But look at this from XJerald. He doesn't mind bringing 2 things weak to Medicham. He's bringing an ABA line weak to Medicham. The Registeel in the lead, the Dunsparce in the back, but surprisingly, Caleb did not bring the Medicham.
We do see both trainers using those first Protect Shields as well. Again, this is a guessing game, right? What's in front of you is the Registeel mirror match. What's ahead of you is the backline matchup. So both trainers trying to work it out. And the catch of a Focus Blast on a Sableye.
And this is going to be not very effective. It's not double resisted like a normal Ghost because of that dark typing. It still did a lot of damage, to be honest. That did nearly half. And now this Registeel is just staying in here. Caleb is poised. He's like, yeah, that was a good swap. That's fine. I'll keep going. I can almost knock you out with this next Focus Blast.
Well, what we've seen Caleb do time and time again is try to reach for shield advantage. If he can fire off a Zap Cannon here, take away this final Protection Shield. Oh, excuse me, actually making the switch into the Noctowl after banking a charge.
And banking either a Focus Blast or a Zap Cannon is going to be so impactful for Caleb in the end stretch of this game, because it's going to be a hard-hitting charge attack versus either the Registeel or the Dunsparce. So that was a brilliant save of energy there. Now, can he actually go for the fast attack down? No, doesn't want to mess around with taking another foul play, so commits to the Sky Attack.
Yeah, looking for the knockout here. Gerald will allow it. He does not Protect Shield his Sableye. I suspect we see, honestly, wait, you can come in either one. Coming in with the Dunsparce, there it is.
And is this Noctowl in range of Rock Slide? It's going to be really close between the rollouts and the Rock Slide, as this Dunsparce is going to easily take the Sky Attack. Now you have to see how much extra energy you want to get out of this, because you have time. You don't need to throw right now. Maybe after 3 rollouts, actually throwing on fast attack alignment to throw this Rock Slide. If it's not enough, that could have been a little mistake.
I don't think it's enough, right? But I think the rollouts will subsequently add up. And we do see a whole rollout sneak through as well. We're going to see a Sky Attack come through here from the Noctowl. I don't think it gets to another Sky Attack, though. Is this an opportunity to pivot? And it is. Combo play. Here comes a Registeel.
Yeah, and this is tough because Dunsparce is pretty valuable and actually goes for the Protect Shield. I think XJerald is trying to line up a double charge attack because it has so much energy here, right? It's going to be able to knock out this Registeel. Actually could have done another rollout or so to been a little safer, and this will knock out the Registeel. Caleb can't Protect Shield because he'll get outpaced to the next move, and it's going to be really hard to finish off this Dunsparce for the Sableye.
Well, look, Sableye has hasn't even hit the field yet. Caleb's basically been playing 2 versus 3. He finally brings out his Sableye here and is going to take a drill run almost immediately. But this is fine, right? If you remember from the opening matchup, Gerald did bank a charge attack on his Registeel as well when he switched to the Sableye. So Caleb needs to keep that in mind.
Oh, wow.
And here it comes.
And here it comes. I think this is looking really good for XJerald, because even if you protect shield this, you're so far out of range of foul plays. Yes, Caleb can pivot.
Oh.
Does Caleb try to pivot and clear the debuff, or does he try to catch the next Zap Cannon? I think Caleb's going to try to go for the next Zap Cannon. It's almost available. There's the swap, and he gets it!
1 HP! Zap Cannon goes nowhere here against this Noctowl as it absorbs all this damage and keeps Caleb in this fight.
And that's a 2-for-1 for Caleb, because yes, he swapped on a large energy attack, and then also he cleared his attack drop, and now he can combo play, double foul play. But does he try to bank up more energy? Because you still need energy for that Dunsparce in the back.
You got about 6 Shadow Claws of runway. He gets to the double. This is all he's going to need. He goes to the second foul play here against the Registeel. He's going to wait for that Dunsparce. Caleb Peng and his Sableye springing to life here in game number 1.
In back-to-back foul plays, Caleb Peng is playing out of his mind to take this game number 1.
Oh my goodness, Sableye vanquishes the Registeel and the Dunsparce. No problems here. Caleb wins game number 1, but as a reminder to everybody, this is a best of 5.
Here's a lead. Let's see if the backlines. There's no respect for Metacham, and this is best of 5. So you have some more time, and shockingly, Caleb is actually just not bringing Metacham. He's actually very much relied on 4 Pokemon.
Yes.
Registeel, Metacham, Sableye, and Noctowl, and he's just sitting the Metacham now.
I'm so glad you called that out. I would be very interested to see the usage for these trainers, right, on their team of 6. Caleb is so in his element here with the Registeel, with the Sableye, with even the Metacham, right? So comfortable in these matchups, and he's executing at a very high level. Zap Cannon does get Protect Shielded, attack drop occurs as well, and the instant switch out.
And banking that foul play and then swapping into the Dunsparce. Now XJerald is behind a shield, but you kind of like this matchup. I actually really like staying in for those couple Shadow Claws, because that changes the dimensions of this matchup. And wow, Caleb's actually going for the big return here. It's no Protect Shielded, but you're going to see XJerald use Drill Run, and does double Drill Run knock out the Sableye? I don't think it has enough reach.
We can kind of eyeball it here, right? And we do have to account for the rollouts. Since the hit Season of Hidden Gems rotation, the rollouts might add up over time going for the second Drill Run here.
Yeah, and he actually went on fast attack alignment before, but this time going for the rollout and then going for the Drill Run is Protect Shielded by Caleb. I think you're almost in foul play range, but you might be able to barely endure foul play. This is going to be so close. This is such a tough shield call.
I think Dunsparce endures. I think Dunsparce hangs on here from the foul play. It's an incredibly bulky, normal type Pokemon, and it does. Can't quite. He can't do it. Can't get to it. Go ahead.
And maybe because he didn't go for an extra rollout in a situation where he could, he took a little extra damage, and now he swaps into the Sableye, and now suddenly Caleb Peng is very far ahead here. You have the Noctowl in the back though, but XJerald's backline is looking so much better against Caleb. The key factor, how are you going to finish off that Registeel? That Registeel for Caleb is about 30% health. You need to find an avenue to finish off that Registeel.
I agree. Here comes the Noctowl, going to try to bank up some energy. Registeel instantly switches in. Caleb comes out to meet it. He's just about 1 or 2 lock-ons ahead in terms of energy. He's going to get to the Focus Blast first, and he does.
Yeah, and the problem is you're going to guarantee to take 2 Focus Blasts here. Caleb's kind of shaking his head because he's going to be able to get to this first Focus Blast. It is Protect Shielded, and now the Focus Blast from XJerald is going to come out really soon. This is probably going to get Protect Shield, definitely Protect Shield from Caleb, but you're ahead on energy, so now you're going to get to that next Focus Blast that's going to do so much to XJerald's Registeel.
And Gerald was so confident that was going to be Protect Shielded, he didn't swipe a single bubble. Going to go for the Focus Blast here. The question in my mind is a Focus Blast and a Shadow Ball from Noctowl enough to KO the Registeel?
The problem is you can't really come out of this energy dry because you need to Zap Cannon that Noctowl. That Noctowl's fully healthy. I expect another undercharge, complete undercharge. No, actually just throws the Nice. This is probably going to secure the knockout. Can you outpace? You absolutely need to outpace to the Zap Cannon before the Sky Attack is available. I don't know if you can get there. Maybe you can swap Sableye. Can you repeat the swap? No. It looks like Caleb's going to land that Sky Attack on the XJerald.
Yeah, this is going to be more than enough. Sky Attack, resist it or not, will topple the Registeel here. Caleb Peng going to look to wing attack down this Sableye. It does have a bit of energy, but Noctowl is just too formidable. It can't stand up to it, and Caleb Peng goes up 2-0.
Maybe in that in-game situation, if you somehow swapped and then got a Shadow Claw through and then threw on charge attack priority, foul play in the Sky Attack, you had a shot, but it was rough. And how about Caleb pivoting into that Registeel really quickly to get that slight energy advantage? And once you have that slight energy advantage, it doesn't matter the health of Registeel, because even though Caleb's Registeel was at 30% health, you were ahead on energy, so you're going to double Focus Blast it first before XJerald will get to his double Focus Blast. So
this is
positive lead here for XJerald if he's going to look to reverse sweep to make it to the Grand Finals, and instead of the Medicham, it's actually the Shadow Venusaur in the back line for Caleb.
XJerald picking up a solid lead situation here as the normal types go at it. Dunsparce does have a distinct advantage. Caleb Peng remaining disciplined though, 7 wing attacks and a Sky Attack. This will deal some chip damage, but the Rock Slides will deal a lot more.
And this is a Pokemon we really haven't seen much from Caleb at all. It's the Shadow Venusaur. It's the Trevenant replacement. He used Trevenant a lot in his previous run. Now he's going to try to lean on the Shadow Venusaur. I think he plans on soft losing this matchup and trying to build up a ton of energy on Shadow Venusaur, but actually protect shielded, because that would be a hard loss if he lost right there.
I can't help but look at that Shadow Venusaur and ask ourselves, Gerald brought Altaria repeatedly in day number 1. It hasn't come to this series at all. The Registeel and the Bastion has just scared it off completely. Altaria would have been great in this matchup, but Caleb Peng has just persuaded him to not bring it at all.
Yeah, and I thought suddenly, okay, there comes the Sableye pivot, and there is no true answer to the Sableye because you have Sableye and Medicham in the back for XJerald, so just going to throw the drill run here. And like we saw before, Sableye's still going to struggle to finish off this Dunsparce, and now Dunsparce is just putting on a lot of pressure to the Sableye. You're going to have to throw before the next drill run. No, just actually taking the next drill run.
I think Sableye can definitely endure this. Probably doesn't need to worry about a Protect Shield here. Caleb Peng going to let it through, going to look for a couple more Shadow Claws, and then a Foul Play. Getting as close as he can to the double. This time though, Butters, I think the Foul Play is enough.
But look at XJerald in his signature pick, Dunsparce. Took out so much from Noctowl, took a Protect Shield, and look at how low Sableye is. Yes, it does throw a parting Foul Play into your own Sableye, but Dunsparce did so much work to start this game, and now you're going to get a fast attack energy advantage, and the Noctowl is close to Foul Play range.
It absolutely is. You do have a Medicham in the back there with great coverage for both of these Pokemon. You do have Ice Punch and Psychic, which will deal super effective damage across the board. Sableye looking for some chip damage, goes straight for the Foul Play on the charge attack priority.
It's going to come down to this. Can you knock out? Can XJerald get the knockout here and try to reverse sweep? And he does secure the knockout. Caleb shakes his head. This is not looking good for Caleb down the stretch here. If you can hold on to get a foul play, that's going to be huge. And there it is. He holds on to get the foul play, but actually over farms a little bit to go for the return. That was risky to go for the return. Caleb has to protect shield this, or else it's over, and he does commit the protection.
You have to, right? You have no other option. That Sableye hanging on there, getting the return. Here comes the Medicham to try to sweep things up. No protections remaining. Double Frenzy Plants are loaded, but it's not enough.
There's no Ice Punch. There's no Ice Punch. This is Power Up Punch Psychic. This is Power Up Punch Psychic. There's no Ice Punch. You have to get all the way to the Psychic.
Gotta go for broke here. Medicham loading up the Psychic.
Gets there.
And this is going to be a huge knockout for Gerald to get him back into the series, avoiding elimination. Super effective Psychic does connect. Venusaur faints.
And XJerald starting the comeback, picking up a game in this game number 3, and needs 2 more in a row to move on to the grand finals. Wow. And this is a great way to start it. Once again, XJerald is just playing so weak to the Medicham, and this is the first time all series Caleb has brought that Medicham. It's Dynamic Punch. You're going to be able to do super effective damage before even the Zap Cannon, and it's a no Protect Shield. XJerald has to know this is going to be Dynamic Punch, and it doesn't quite knock out, but it does a lot.
And what a brutal snare there. The charge attack priority, launching that Dynamic Punch, going to take the Zap Cannon, actually, excuse me, going to Protect Shield up, and just counter all the way down.
No debuff.
No debuff either. Medicham is rolling here.
So Caleb Protect Shields that because he knows his opponent must be ABA weak to it.
Yes.
Because if Registeel is staying in the lead versus a Dynamic Punch Medicham, it must mean you have something weak in the back, and that was a swap and a rollout. So really great timing on the swap there from XJerald.
Yeah, but we saw the nod there from Caleb. just confirming your theory, Butters, that he recognized there was another Medicham weakness in the back. He's happy to see it out here now, but I don't think Gerald had an option, right? He had to switch in here, otherwise he gives up his best and only answer to Medicham.
Yeah, but the key factor for Caleb is he has that knocked out in the back. I mean, his one true counter to Sableye, which is so strong against his team, he's kind of forced into knocked out all the time here, and Caleb actually going for the huge return into 2 Protect Shields. I don't think it's going to KO, but it's going to do a lot.
No, Dunsparce kind of shakes that off, but it is heavily wounded there. Going to look to double up here with the charge attacks. It is double resisting those Shadow Claws, so he does get to the drill run.
Is he at the back-to-back? Is he going to be able to land a drill run onto the Medicham that is surely going to be coming in? You can't switch out. I expect Caleb to come in right away. He doesn't want to mess around with the switch timer. Well played by Caleb to go straight away because he didn't want him to bank that energy. And now it's going to be a knocked out down a Protect Shield versus a loaded Sableye. This is not over for XJerald. XJerald still has some play here.
Yeah, energy management is so critical here. Pokemon can only hold so much charge attack energy. I'm worried Gerald's going to go over the limit here, and he actually pulls the trigger here on the foul play. Very nice play to rein back that energy.
The problem is the foul play goes through. Now you're going to have to land a return somehow because the double foul play isn't going to do it. You're almost at return energy. Do you just go for it? If you go for it, you might win. If Caleb tries to call this, this might be... Oh, he tried to call it. He tried to call it. This might be the lose condition for Caleb. This return is going to land into knocked out, but it doesn't even knock out.
Knocked out, barely hanging on, but so is the Sableye. We see the Protect Shield here from Gerald. Caleb Peng might be in a bit of trouble here, looking for a double resistant Shadow Claw down. Still a Protect Shield for the Medicham, but the Sableye is going to walk into this matchup with so much energy.
The problem is there is energy, there is Ice Punch available for Caleb Peng, and Caleb Peng is moving on to the grand finals and the finale of the North American Regionals Championship Series in Fresno.
A stumble in Game 3, but not a fall. Caleb Peng continues his march here in Fresno, California at our season's concluding North American Regional.
And undefeated when he's not playing Shadow Venusaur, when he sticks to that core group, he's bringing so much Sableye knocked out.
All right, thanks so much, DeFi. I'm joined here by our grand finalists. It's Elite and Caleb Peng. And you know, Caleb, I talk to you a lot in these broadcasts, but I've never had a chance to interview you as a player. So my first question, it's a tough one. You have a Bastiodon plushie. It's your signature Pokemon. Why do you never run it?
Hey, I gotta say, I ran it a total of 3 times this tournament. Have 66% win rate with it, so I think it's been pretty clutch for me.
Okay, so it's mostly the bench pressure. I'll ask you about that in a second, but is there any final words you want to say to either your opponent or maybe give a shout out to anyone before we get into these grand finals, Caleb?
Yeah, sure. I mean, shout out to my friends, my teammates, the Cool Cats, my parents who probably are watching. I send them the links and they were texting me throughout for all their support and stuff. And, you know, our fellow shoutcasters as well for putting on a great show and all the spectators. And I wish you the best of luck.
Down on the stage, on the left, we have Pokemon Go official caster Caleb Peng with his Bastiodon. He was a regional finalist over in San Diego and has made top cut here today in Fresno.
He's also a regional finalist here. We need to get that updated. This is the finals.
Yes. So regional finalist here in Fresno, but trying to be the grand champion. He's got that Shadow Venusaur. He's got his key Bastiodon paired with the Registeel Noctowl, Purified Sableye, and Medicham. Will Caleb prove to be king of California, having both of those championships here, or will it go to Elite?
Elite, with his achievements, top 8 in Salt Lake City, coming back over to Fresno, and not just top 8, he is also a finalist. We are here in the grand finals. His team is going to be that Noctowl, Purified Sableye, Shadow Swampert, Registeel, Medicham, and Shadow Alolan Sandslash. Let's quickly talk about Bastion counters. We see 3 of the hardest Bastiodon counters in the entire meta on his team: Shadow Swampert, Medicham, and Registeel. It's so hard to bring Bastiodon into that team.
Right, they were talking about polarizing matchups earlier. That is certainly one of them. We also see the Shadow Venusaur over on the side of Caleb Peng, the Shadow Swampert on the side of Elite. That is an incredibly polarizing matchup. we are going to see which battler is going to take it all. Caleb Peng here on the winner's side. Elite needs to trigger a bracket reset to try to get the championship. Let's go ahead down to the field. There it is, the Shadow Alolan Sandslash.
Already proving me wrong. Game number 1, we see the signature pick of Shadow Alolan Sandslash being brought. Counter swap into Sableye by Caleb Peng, preserving that Medicham in the back. In comes the counter swap of Noctowl, able to land a Sky Attack. The question becomes, does Caleb fight for switch advantage, or is he just trying to get some chip damage done into this Noctowl and try to come out with energy advantage later on?
The Sableye going for a foul play right away, trying to chip down the energy, chipping down the health of this Owl Pokemon, going for another foul play, and that is a no shield on the side of Elite, who is fighting from that loser side of the bracket. Has to beat Caleb in 2 best of 5s and is trying to be the first one to accomplish that.
Elite actually throwing a Sky Attack here. Caleb going to shield it up, has more than 1 health, and is able to reach a foul play. I think if Elite had instead gone for another Wing Attack there, he would have been able to knock out, as the damage of this current Wing Attack would have applied before that foul play would have been thrown. Instead, shield parity has been used, 1 shield from each side. The Sky Attack from Elite's Noctowl going into Caleb's Noctowl for a little bit of chip damage.
Yes, Caleb's very dapper Noctowl is going to go for a full Wing Attack down and will exit that matchup with a full Sky Attack ready to go. Just needs 1 more Wing Attack to throw this Shadow Ball. We have seen earlier today this neutral damage onto the Shadow Alolan Sandslash is very impactful. So we see perhaps trying to make a catch. There is the Medicham, and Elite bringing the hard counter to the Medicham, bringing that Sableye, and Medicham going to be going for Dynamic Punch. Caleb Peng using just that little bit of an alternate moveset. Dynamic Punch is resisted by the Sableye, but does quite a bit more damage, I think, than a Psychic would.
And I think this is the Caleb Peng special. Dynamic Punch plus Ice Punch. I believe he used this charged attack setup in San Diego as well, shielding the foul play here. Back-to-back foul plays are reached by Elite, but the Medicham on Caleb's side does have an Ice Punch, which does pull the shield from Elite. Remember, that Shadow Alolan Sandslash in the back does have an Ice Punch, but I think the Noctowl might be just outside of that range. Instead, though, Elite reaching for back-to-back foul plays here, able to get this one off against Caleb's Medicham and have another one stored for the Noctowl in the back.
And Caleb bringing in that Noctowl, the last line of defense. And Elite going for that foul play, knocking the Noctowl down to the red. And then here is that Shadow Alolan Sandslash coming in with an Ice Punch. Elite taking this first game victory over Caleb Peng.
The question becomes, does Caleb feel pressured to bring his signature Pokemon right now? There is a bit of a difficulty to bring Bastiodon, like I said before.
We have a positive lead, this time on the side of Caleb Peng with that dapper Noctowl again in the lead. Elite pivoting to the Sableye, bringing in the Registeel, and there is that Medicham. However, if you take a look, Caleb Peng bringing in his Medicham, this makes that Shadow Alolan Sandslash a lot safer in the back-end matchup.
It now becomes a question of how much does Caleb want to preserve his own Medicham, letting the first Zap Cannon go through, no shield, no attack drop, building up almost to 2 Dynamic Punches. The first Dynamic Punch coming through, this will be more than enough damage to this Registeel to knock out. Elite's going to come back in with the Sableye, get an entire farm down, but he's likely to take at least a Dynamic Punch, maybe a Dynamic Punch plus an Ice Punch before the Shadow Claws knock out.
And here is that Sableye. Sableye says yummy as it just chunks away at that Medicham. Does have to handle this Dynamic Punch coming from Caleb Peng. And like you mentioned, Dynamic Punch Medicham is certainly the Caleb Peng special. It is something, I would say, his secondary pick that he is known for aside from the Bastiodon. And then the Noctowl comes in, but Sableye just has so much energy here. So even though generally it's a positive matchup, Sableye can do quite a bit bit of damage, taking the return and knocking the Noctowl down under half health.
Switching out immediately, we see Elite actually shake his head, but he has an energy advantage, and knowing that the charge attacks from Registeel are going to do so much damage to his own Shadow, Alolan Sandslash, I think he's basically got to shield each and every charged attack here, which makes his play going forward a bit easy. We see the Focus Blast coming through after the first Drill Run landed into the Registeel. We're going to have to see a second Drill Run land, or maybe a massive farm down from this Alolan Sandslash.
And the Shadow Alolan going for energy, gets to the Drill Run first. Will Caleb Peng let the Registeel go? He does, just putting everything onto the wings of his dapper Noctowl. Noctowl has to get through this Shadow Alolan Sandslash that has a ton of energy, as well as that Sableye.
The first Ice Punch goes shielded. It would have been enough to knock out at this point. The one difficulty for this Noctowl for this Alolan Sandslash, excuse me, is that the Shadow Claws really don't do much. We see a second shield come up, and this was a charge attack tie between the Ice Punch and the Sky Attack from the Noctowl.
So Elite has to make the decision, where is the best use of this shield? Is it on the Shadow Alolan Sandslash or the Sableye? Takes the not very effective charge move. Noctowl has another move, no switch out by Elite, uses his final shield here. Let's see how this end of game plays out. Noctowl going for the charge move.
And instead, the Ice Punch comes through. This is going to take game number 2. I think Caleb a little bit frustrated. The Sky Attack not getting shielded. If it was a Shadow Ball, I think that would have threatened a knockout. So a bit of an unfortunate bait there. Great call by Elite to know that if he no shields a Sky Attack, that's a great win condition. And if he no shields a Shadow Ball, maybe his Sableye has enough energy to outpace to 2 future Sky Attacks.
Will Elite sweep Caleb Peng in the Grand Finals and trigger a bracket reset? Let's find out. This is a positive lead for Elite. Noctowl in to Sableye. Caleb Peng responds with his Registeel, and here comes Shadow Swampert, who loves to see that Steel Titan in the back. Registeel cannot knock out in a singular move, but Shadow Swampert with that Earthquake would decimate the Steel Titan.
This is a bit of a team composition switch up from Elite, bringing the Shadow Swampert for the first time, going for a Hydro Cannon here, maybe expecting a shield from Caleb, trying to preserve switch or win back switch. The Hydro Cannon shielded is really great for Elite, now outpacing to this next Earthquake. Instead, going for another Hydro Cannon. I don't think this one gets shielded from Caleb, who should be able to reach a secondary focus. Actually, Caleb shielding up twice, giving up both shields for the bait of the Hydro Cannon. Now, if Elite shields this Focus Blast, he should be able to farm up to another Earthquake, throw a Hydro Cannon, and because of the residual Mud Shots, it will be enough to knock out. Instead, actually, just going straight for the safe plate before a switch out can happen, an Earthquake into this Registeel.
And the Earthquake trembles the ground and the Registeel falls. In comes Caleb Peng's Sableye from the beginning of the matchup. All shields are out of play, so every single charge move is going to be impactful here. Elite going right for that supercharged Hydro Cannon with that Shadow boost. Caleb Peng responding in turn with a foul play, which should be more than enough to take the Swampert off the field.
It's looking pretty dire for Caleb in game number 3 here. The Noctowl's going to come in, which gets met by a Noctowl counter swap, and then the Alolan Sandslash is there to answer. One Ice Punch is not enough to knock out, but neither is a Shadow Ball. The Ice Punches will pace quicker, and there's no chance for Caleb to really threaten a knockout here, and the Sableye is not able to really put a lot of pressure on Elite's Noctowl in the back because of how much extra health it has. It's basically at full health.
Yeah, so here is the Shadow Ball. We've seen about how much this does to the Shadow Alolan Sandslash, taking it very, very low, almost into the red. And then here is that Ice Punch will be enough to knock the hat off of the dapper Noctowl. Ice Punch lands, and there is finally just that Sableye. But Elite has an entire healthy Noctowl in the back. So here it is, With this Ice Punch, Elite has triggered a bracket reset. Could he be the one to win it all here today? First game of the bracket reset, we have Registeel on the left, Purified Sableye on the right.
So this is exactly where Caleb would like to see this Sableye, because it avoids the Medicham in the back, and his Registeel is actually able to avoid the Shadow Swampert from Elite. This game, compared to the others, is definitely starting off a little bit more on even grounds. The one advantage that I see on Elite's team composition is there is a Noctowl in the back and 2 Pokemon weak to Noctowl in the back for Caleb. However, they both have some pretty decent play.
Yes, so it could be a lot of these kind of neutral matchups where you can wiggle your way around. We haven't seen that as much. Earlier in the season, we saw so many hard checks, and now we have so much more flexible play. The Registeel going down under half health. We see a swap into Sableye, and there is Elite's Noctowl, which just looks so strong.
Pulling out the Noctowl opens up Caleb's Medicham in the back. However, there's not a Pokemon that's super weak to Medicham. It is the Shadow Swampert, and given that Elite has a shield advantage coming out and going further on past this Noctowl matchup, given I don't think he's going to use a shield for this matchup, I think that puts that Shadow Swampert in a very solid position as long as he's able to maintain a lot of health there.
Yes, being able to maintain the health of your Pokemon is so critical. It's just as critical as shields and swap and all of those other different components that these trainers are thinking about, every millisecond have to be making these calculations. The Noctowl going for the Sky Attack wipes the Sableye off the field. We have a full health Medicham. We have a half health Registeel with a move ready to go. Registeel going for the lower, the neutral Focus Blast, saving a little bit of energy compared to the Zap Cannon. Noctowl off of the field. Swampert now into the Medicham. Swampert known for its heavy hitting charge moves. Medicham known more for its flexibility and its bulk. Swampert cannot one-hit KO, needs to throw 2 charge moves. There is the first, needs to build up to the second.
Honestly, I've been really impressed with Caleb's counting here, recognizing that a Hydro Cannon is not enough to knock out his Medicham, and before throwing the charge attack with his Registeel right before the Noctowl was able to reach the Shadow Ball. We see the first Ice Punch coming from Medicham, and it's going into this Swampert. The issue becomes by throwing these Ice Punches, you're allowing, actually a great switch and throw by Elite. I was going to say catch, but actually the charge attack that was initiated was from the Sableye. And now the Medicham is out of the way, and there's no longer any fast attack pressure, and Elite still has a shield for any charge attacks that this Registeel is able to reach.
So there is the Hydro Cannon. There's not too much that can win CMP against a Shadow Swampert or a Shadow Charizard. These Pokemon have such high attacks. Washes the Registeel away. Elite is 2 wins away from taking the championship. Caleb Peng needs to shake it off and win 3 here in order to claim the championship for himself.
Best of 5. It's going to be another Registeel into Sableye. We do finally see the Venusaur in the back for Caleb, but Elite has brought his 2 best answers for that Shadow Venusaur.
Perhaps a team prediction from Elite, thinking Caleb's gotta bring that Venusaur at some point, so preparing for it now. We have the Registeel taking some damage, going for that first Zap Cannon. Elite having to decide, is the health on this Sableye important, and does decide to use a Protect Shield as Caleb makes a quick pivot attack fall on Elite's Pokemon, clears it out by bringing in the Noctowl.
And he's able to pull out one of the answers for the Venusaur, and honestly, I think the better answer for the Venusaur in the Noctowl. Noctowl's able to very comfortably survive a Sludge Bomb, whereas we still haven't quite figured out if that Shadow Alolan Sandslash can comfortably tank a Shadow Frenzy Plant. The Foul Play comes through. This is not going to pull a shield from Elite, who feels quite comfortable in letting potentially even a second Foul Play through. Is Caleb going to reach for the return? No, a Sky Attack is reached right before that heavy hitting charge attack could be reached from the Sableye.
And Sableye puts up a Protect Shield, wanting to remove this Noctowl from the field of play. That Noctowl could spell disaster for that Shadow Venusaur later. So Caleb needs to remove it from the field, landing a foul play, at least getting this Noctowl down to low health, gets to another foul play. Will Elite preserve this Noctowl? No, lets it go and is going to be able to get just a little bit of energy off of Caleb Peng's low health Energy Dry Sableye.
Yeah, I honestly really like the no shield from Elite there at the end, because energy advantage is going to be so crucial to overcome the Shadow Venusaur in the back. He doesn't know it's there, but it's going to be a number of charge attacks that he needs to land. First, the foul play into the Regishield, a second foul play to potentially pull the shield, but no, we actually see a quick switch into the Shadow Alolan Sandslash, and Caleb shaking his head, frustrated that it is this Pokemon in the back, and actually throwing the Sludge Bomb that goes no shielded, no bubbles clicked. We would have had our opportunity to see the Shadow Frenzy Plant go into the Shadow Alolan Sandslash, but they take that opportunity away from us.
They do, and I think Caleb Peng conceding here, that Ice Punch knocking out the Venusaur, and the Shadow Claws will be enough to knock out the Registeel. Elite has won 5 games in a row versus Caleb Peng.
And he does it in the potential final game here. Bastiodon into Sableye. Sableye, although is very neutral here, gets completely outbulked by the Bastiodon.
Yeah, and those smackdowns are just chunking away. Sableye having to rely on the lower power move of foul play, but it just gets to those foul plays so quickly. Bastiodon, you can just see its kind of head shake as it gets hit with that first charge move, like,
Bastiodon does not care whatsoever. The Stone Edge going into Sableye gets the shield, and the interesting thing is that Elite has a Noctowl in the back, and the Noctowl looks so strong against Caleb's backline. We see another no shield from Caleb, recognizing the strength of Bastiodon is your ability to no shield charged attacks.
Exactly. So Elite waiting until Bastiodon is right about at that next charge move before throwing the foul play. And even though Bastiodon hangs on and is able to throw a Stone Edge, will Elite decide that he wants to keep that switch advantage? And he does. So shields on the Sableye. Elite is down 2 shields to Caleb Peng. He's down no shields to Caleb Peng's too.
I would have actually preferred to see the Shadow Venusaur come into this position. I think Shadow Sludge Bomb threatens Noctowl a little bit more than the return does, given return is so energy expensive. We actually see this Shadow Alolan Sandslash come in, and an Ice Punch is not actually thrown at the same time as this Foul Play. Foul Play will do a lot of neutral damage, but I don't think it threatens the knockout quite yet.
There it is. The Alolan Sandslash stands strong enough to throw this Drill Run, getting a shield away from Caleb Peng. Drill Run hits the Protect Shield. No shields left in play. There is the Noctowl, which is not what this Venusaur wants to see.
Yeah, the Venusaur is going to be completely energy dry. It has not hit the battlefield quite yet. And now that the Noctowl is in, it has the opportunity to always guarantee energy advantage. But no, instead, actually throwing the Sky Attack at the exact energy it's reached. But remember, Frenzy Plant might be 6 Vine Whips, but Sludge Bomb is 7. So the Sky Attack will come before the Sludge Bomb is reached.
There we go. There is the Sky Attack. We saw these trainers. There's all smiles on the field. Elite has won 6 battles in a row to be your Fresno Grand Champion.
6 battles in a row. It has to have been the first time that's happened, because this is the first time we've had someone come all the way through the loser's bracket in order to take the Grand Championship. So congratulations to Elite for both securing his Yokohama invite as well as securing that travel package. And don't forget, you have had someone else qualify for Worlds. That would be XjeraldX.
Yeah, just like another shout out to my family, to my teammates on the Pogoats, my friends Evan, Lyle, and Matt, and yeah, Ashish Bootcamp.
All right, you heard it here first. Congratulations again, Elite, for winning the Fresno Regional Championships and punching your ticket to Worlds in Yokohama, Japan.
A big congratulations to Elite for sweeping the entire tournament. Definitely had one of the hardest runs in history because he was knocked down to a loser's bracket early on day number 1. He had to battle way more opponents than me, and also being the first person ever to 6-0 opponent in the grand finals is definitely no easy feat. Even though his Alone Sand Slash was very strong into my team, and some could say he has a team composition advantage, I think he also played incredibly well, making pretty much 0 misplays and also predicting me around every turn of the match. It was not the most fun time on the receiving end of that, but overall I'm still very happy to have finished second place at this tournament. And congratulations to Gerald as well, who qualified for World Championships, because my invitation gets cascaded down since I already qualified. Thank you all for watching, and thank you to anyone who was cheering me on throughout the tournament. If you want to know more about how I played out my battles and what I was thinking throughout the battles, be sure to tune into the next video. And to make sure you don't miss that video, subscribe, hit that notification bell to get alerted right when I post that video, and I'll catch you all next time.